What's good, squad? It's the big homie SB23 back at you with some more words of wisdom. Today we're going to talk about how to spot Decepticons. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. SB23 on YouTube, Chosen123 on YouTube. Those are both my channels. You'll get these gems on both channels. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming through, hanging out with the big homie, soaking up the knowledge, spreading the knowledge. I'm hoping you're having a good day, and I'm sending love out your way. So how to spot Decepticons? First, you gotta know what a Decepticon is. We've all, or most of us, have seen Transformer movies, or grew up as a child seeing the Transformer cartoons or whatever it is. A Decepticon is simply a bot in disguise, a bot that is disguised itself as something that disguise themselves to appear some way on the outside, but truly they are a bot with hidden agendas. So again, if you've seen the Transformer movies, or if you know of the Transformer cartoon, like I grew up on that cartoon, you would know that within that verse there is Autobots and Decepticons, and the Decepticons were the ones who were using their powers for evil, while the Autobots were using their powers for good, to protect humanity and all that other stuff. But the Decepticons were using their powers to take over and siphon energy from different worlds. So how does that apply to real life? In our everyday real life, there are Decepticons that are people disguising themselves to be one way, but underneath their disguise there are actual bots, NPCs that are trying to siphon you of your energy, and you have to be aware of that. What is an NPC? An NPC in any video game is a non-player character. So it's a character that is just there to take up space and or distract you from your purpose, or to distract you from your goal. So you want to be careful of these NPCs and these Decepticons. It's also like the movie Matrix. If you watch the movie Matrix, Neo was the one. So Neo was different from everybody else. Neo was unlocking powers that the normal person couldn't understand, or they didn't believe within themselves that they could. But since he was tapping into the power, the matrix that he was in was using these NPCs as agents to disrupt him from reaching his true purpose, which was to unlock his hidden potential and fully step into embracing that he was the one. So it's the same thing out here in this world. These Decepticons will come in and disguise themselves as something other than what they actually are, in order to get a leg up on you, or to get over on you in some sort of way, in order to siphon your energy and then take that energy for themselves and use it for their own agendas. And you got to be able to spot these people. And how do you spot them? They will give themselves up. You got to pay attention to what people say and how they move. Oftentimes people will tell you exactly how they're going to treat you if you listen to what they're saying. And again, and that's what everybody, whether they're going to treat you well or treat you bad, they will tell you at some point if you just listen closely to what they're saying. Oftentimes in life, we will hear somebody say something, or we'll see somebody do something, and we'll be like, all right, that was just that one instance that might have rubbed you the wrong way, or you've seen a red flag, but you ignored it because when you're operating in a good space and you're not trying to take advantage of anybody, you want to see the good in people. So you understand that you as a person are not perfect. So if somebody does something that isn't what you expect them to do, you'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because you yourself have done things in your life that you might not be proud of, or you might have made a mistake. So you figure, let me give them the benefit of the doubt. But what you got to pay attention to is if that person continues to do things and it becomes a pattern, to where it's like, okay, one time you did something one time, okay, we can kind of let that go, or we can sweep that under the rug because nobody's perfect. But once it becomes a continuous pattern, that's when you have to realize that from that point forward, that first time, you can that first time, depending on how serious it is, you can let that go. But if it happens any more times after that, and then you allow it to happen, now that's on you. You can't blame them. That first time you can blame them and say, hey, yo, that was crazy. But then after that, if they continue to do the same things and you're not strong enough to remove yourself from the situation, then you can't blame anybody else but you, because you've let that Decepticon deceive you and treat you a certain way, or use you in some sort of way in order to get what they want. So that's why you have to be aware of how people treat you, and the things, not only the things that they do, but the things that they say. Because again, they'll say things in passing that you might think in your head, like, what are they talking about? Like, what was that about? And then you might sweep it under the rug and you might make an excuse for them, like, oh, you know what, they have been going through a lot, or, you know, they having a bad day. Okay, we let that go. But again, if it becomes a reoccurring pattern, then you have to acknowledge it for what it is, and then immediately remove yourself, because that's a red flag that you are being used. But again, how do you tell? One way to tell is they will straight up blatantly tell you. And I've had this happen in my life, to where people will straight up told me how they were going to treat me, and instead of taking them for their word, you ignore it, because you see the good in people. You want to see the good in people. You want to see them in the way that you see them, instead of seeing them in the way that they are. You know what I'm saying? You want to see them for whatever facade they're putting up. So again, like in the Transformers movies, you know, these bots, they come in and they disguise themselves as vehicles in order to operate in this world that they're in, coming from where they come from into this new world. They have to disguise themselves so they don't stand out, and so that their agenda isn't exposed. And it's on both sides. Again, the Autobots were doing the same thing, but the reason they were disguising themselves wasn't because they had some hidden agenda to take over the earth and siphon it for its energy. They were there to fight against the Decepticons. So not everybody who is in disguise is evil, but you can determine who's doing what by the energy that they're carrying. Again, so when you look at, what I always come back to is energy. When you look at those movies, it's a great depiction of how similar beings, these bots came from Cybertron and came down to Earth, and they both were operating in similar manners, meaning disguising themselves in order to protect themselves and also protect against people who might not understand what it is that is going on. But within the two different energies, one was righteous and just wanted to protect the humans on the earth and protect the earth, while the other was trying to siphon the energy and do harm to the humans. So that's a great example of how you can operate in similar manners, but the energy behind what you're doing determines the outcome of how your life's going to be. And again, we know in those movies the Decepticons never win, because when you're operating within that low vibration and you're trying to take something that doesn't belong to you, then you are setting yourself up for failure, because even if you do attain said power, you don't understand how to utilize it in the right way. So it will just end up imploding within you and you'll destroy yourself. So watching what people say and do is one way to spot a Decepticon. Another way is by the energy that you feel when you're around them. Like I just said, you know, you can feel the energy when you're around them. So if something feels off and something internally within your gut is telling you something's not right, you have to listen to your intuition. And that's another thing that we as people have to learn. We get signs and we get feelings and we ignore them, because again, we want to see the person as how we want to see them, or put them in whatever pedestal that we have put them on, as far as what either the potential we saw in them, or whatever facade that they were giving out that we believed in. So even if, let's say, even if you know that this person isn't what they're making themselves out to be. Again, I've had this happen in my life to where I know for a fact this person isn't what they're portraying themselves to be, but because me as a person, when I look at somebody, I look through whatever facade they got up, and I see them at their core and what their potential can be. You will find yourself focusing on that, and then that is the picture that you have for them, even though in real time they're not showing you anything that even amounts to where you're trying to, what pedestal you have put them on from the potential that you saw within them. You know what I'm saying? So that's another way to spot somebody is the energy. However you feel when you're around them. Pay attention to the things that happen when you're around them. If you get around somebody who is acting like they're got it all together, but in reality, every time you come around them, bad things happen, or there's some sort of chaos, there's no peace, there's always drama, or when you go and talk to them, every time you have a conversation with them, it's always negative. There's no positiveness within it. They're not showing any sense of drive to elevate themselves or take themselves to another level in any aspect of their life. They're not working towards growing at all. That's how you can spot a Decepticon also, because again, they're putting on a facade, or they're wearing a mask as if everything is okay on the outside to everybody who's around them, but you can feel within the energy, or you can tell when you get around them that they're not actually walking within the light that they're claiming to walk in. So that's another way. Energy. Again, like I always say on this channel, that's one thing. If I'm preaching anything, which I'm not trying to preach, but if it is something that I'm preaching on here, it's always that energy controls everything, and it always starts from energy first. So if you can pick up on somebody's energy, it doesn't matter what they're saying or what they're trying to put out there. If you can tap into energy and understand the way it works, then nobody can pull wool over your eyes or make you believe something that you feel as though isn't right. You'll feel it. You'll be able to feel it. You'll be able to tap into their energy, and you'll know, like, okay, this person is BSing. They really ain't about what they say they're about. I can tell not only by the energy, but I can see what they're attracting within their life and the way that they speak. Another way to spot them too is, how do they take care of themselves? Do they keep themselves up? Like, do they have healthy ways of eating? Do they go to the gym to keep themselves up? Do they dress? Like, how is their appearance? As far as, you know, are they healthy? Do they have good hygiene? Do they think highly of themselves enough to put the time and effort in to love themselves properly? How do they treat their children? How do they treat their parents? How do they treat their friends? You can see it if you just take time to stop and look and pay attention to how they move. Are they sneaky? Because some people are really good at being personable, like around people. They have a gift of faking it with people, but people not understanding that they're faking. But again, these people will look straight up to, like, if you listen to them, or even if you watch the things that they post on their social media, they will straight up tell you that they don't even mess with people like that. They don't even like people like that. Again, if you go through, I'm trying to tell you, go through your friends list on Facebook and look at the stuff that they post, and you'll be able to tell what type of energy that they're carrying just off of that, just off of the stuff that they post. Because most people, if you really got something going on in your life, first off, you really ain't on social media posting a whole bunch of stuff unless you're using it for like business purposes, or if you're going on there and you know want to post something funny just to spread some joy and laugh or whatever the case may be. But if you really got stuff going on that you're working on, if you're working on yourself, you don't have time to be on Facebook telling all your business, or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, whatever site that you might use. You don't have time to be on there doing all that stuff, because you're actually in the real world doing stuff. And again, you're not even going to post nothing to you're not going to feel like you have to post something to create some sort of facade of your life, because you're actually living your real life, and you're not trying to impress anybody. If anything, again, you're using that platform in order to maybe build your business, or to, if you are interacting with friends, it's just on some funny stuff. You're not posting your personal business or anything like that about your actual life on there, because that's just that first of all, these platforms aren't even like real. It's just somewhere for entertainment, one. And two, like I said, again, you got more important things to be doing in the real world than to be trying to put on some facade to pretend like you're happy for some people who don't even care about you. Because 90% of the people who are on these sites don't even care about what you're posting. They just want to see what you got going on, so they can either talk about you, point the finger and laugh at you, or whatever the case, demean you, whatever it is. We all know how it goes on there. It's rare that there's some genuine people who actually care about your life and what you got going on those sites. So that's another way to spot somebody. Very good at being fake and putting up a facade, wearing a mask for when they have to be in an environment where there's people, but deep down, their actions and the things that they even post, it'll tell you that they really that they're fake. It'll tell you how shallow. It'll show how shallow they are, or that they don't have much depth to them. They're only surface level, and they're really only doing this to get attention. They're not really bringing anything to the table. So that's another way to tell who's being real and who's not. And again, that's a form of the Decepticon. Pay attention to what people say and how they treat people. You will see it. Somebody, think about it. If you see somebody, and let's say you go out to eat, or you go to a restaurant, or even if you're going to a fast food or whatever, and if somebody acts like they're a sweet person, but then you see them being negative to somebody who's taking the time out to make some food for them, or serve them their food at a restaurant, and they get upset and they're taking their anger out on somebody who they don't even know. Two, they don't even know what kind of day that they're having. Being a waitress or being somebody who makes food for somebody else, that's not an easy thing to do, because people are picky. And again, people are coming in with their own energy. So when you see somebody who claims to be a people person, and then lashes out at people when they feel like, just because they feel some type of way, that is a Decepticon. That's somebody who's working with negative energy, and that's somebody who is trying to be deceptive in the sense that they're trying to play like they're holier than thou, but really on the inside they got a lot of anger issues and maybe low self-esteem that they need to work on. And they it'll always creep out if you're paying attention to it. It'll always creep out. They'll show them true selves because they can't help it. No matter how much you try to hide something, and anytime you try to hide something, it always creeps out slowly but surely. And then the longer you try to hide it, the more it'll start to slip out, because after a while they get tired of first having to hold on to this or trying to pretend, but then also what's done in the dark always comes to the light. So it's only but so long you can keep up a facade before your true self ends up being exposed. And then that's another way too. That's another way to spot a Decepticon. They will expose themselves at some point, because again, they're pretending. And anytime you're pretending to do something, you have to put up some sort of facade. You have to tell lies, and you can never continuously keep up a lie without there being some cracks within it. That's the way that the universe works. The universe rewards honesty and purity. The universe punishes liars, cheats, thieves, people who are operating in the shadows. The universe is going to shine the light on them and expose them when they least expect it, because that's their biggest fear. The reason why they're moving in the shadows is because they don't have any confidence, and they know they don't have the energy or resources to operate within the light. They've done so much dirt that they are forced to move within the shadows to survive. Because the minute that they step into the light, it's almost like it burns them. Think about like a vampire, a Decepticon, or a bot, an NPC, an agent is nothing more than an energy vampire. Somebody who operates in the shadows, moves on unsuspected people who aren't onto the game, uses them, attaches themselves to that person, siphons their energy, literally like a vampire, sucks them dry of their energy, and then once they're done with them, they discard that person and move on to the next. But what happens to those types of people is the universe will align them with somebody who has so much energy and is aware enough to know who they are and how they're operating. So then before that person ends up knowing it, they end up running into somebody who they can't defeat. They can't siphon all of their energy. And then once they can't siphon all of their energy, but let's say they thought they did. Let's say they thought that they latched onto somebody and they thought that they sucked them dry. What ends up happening is once that person detaches from the energy vampire, that Decepticon, the agent, the NPC, once they detach, they regain their energy, because again, they were lined up with somebody who was full of abundant energy. Their energy doesn't die, it just keeps regenerating. So when an energy vampire attaches herself to somebody of that type of caliber, somebody whose energy is so vast and so pure that it's something they haven't experienced, they get addicted to that energy. So then once they feel like they've gotten their full and now they can move on to somebody else, my bad, y'all. Once they latch themselves on to that next person, they realize that they made a big mistake, because whoever they went to after they had that pure, vast, abundant energy that they were siphoning off of, they realized that that next person isn't of the same caliber. They don't have the same energy, and now they're stuck because they're so used to that energy that they become addicted. It's like somebody who was addicted to some hard substance and they got the purest of the pure. And once you have that, you build a tolerance. Your tolerance is super high now. So anything below that is not going to satisfy you, because you've had the best of the best when it comes to energy, or when it comes to a substance. Like I said, if somebody gets addicted to a substance, when you've had the best of the best, you get something, like think about Tony Montana in that movie. He had the best of the best cocaine. It was pure, coming straight off the boat. You know what I'm saying? He was in there sticking his whole head in the pile because it was so good. He couldn't go from that to having something that he would get that's been stepped on 10 times before it came to him. And that's the thing. When you get attached to somebody who has that type of energy, it could be it is addicting. And it's not even that it can be addicting. It is addicting. Again, think about it on any level of life. When you get something you really like, it's hard to stop. It's hard to go from something that you know is up here to something that's way down here. It's hard. So now their whole situation is messed up because they've been exposed. Because once they detach themselves from the person they were draining, that person comes back into who they are and realizes what that person was doing the whole time. And now it's like it's a barrier now, because now I'm not about to let you come back and siphon my energy again. No, you got to stay over there and deal with the decision that you made. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, you can change your ways though. You know, if you are somebody who is a Decepticon and you're out here, you know, siphoning, being an energy vampire and siphoning people's energy, you can change your ways. You can always go within yourself and develop things within yourself to make it to where you can create your own energy, so you don't have to go around using people. You can turn yourself from being an NPC, a Decepticon, an agent, into being a main character. So where you don't have to siphon off of somebody else, you will create your own juice in order for you to survive. Because again, that's all they're trying to do, is survive. They're operating in the shadows like a vampire trying to survive. But again, what happens to vampires when that sunlight comes? They get burnt, and eventually it happens to all of them, you know. So especially when they're dealing with somebody who is walking within the light, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing too. Those type of people, Decepticons, NPCs, energy vampires, are attracted to people who hold a vast amount of light within them. That's not to say that that person doesn't have darkness too, but their light outshines their darkness so much so that it's hard to deny it. As soon as they see that person, they're attracted to them, and they have to have some of their energy. Again, think about the movies. When you watch the movies and you see those vampire movies, there's always within that movie that the vampire runs up against somebody who they smell their blood, and they cannot resist coming after this person because their blood is so pure. It's the same scenario within life and energy. The energy within, and that's really what it is. It's not even about the blood. They depict it that way in the movies with vampires, but really what is it? It's always that person is harboring some sort of energy within them that is irresistible. So again, imagine you go from something that you could not resist coming in to try to siphon, and then you get a piece, you get a good amount of that energy within you, and then you go from that to something that is not even close to what you have became accustomed to. You're gonna go through withdrawals, which we all know. When you go through withdrawals, what happens? That means you start to do and move in certain ways in order to try to fix that void that you're missing. Because again, you've become accustomed to that thing that was powering you up. You know, you thought it would, you got so high off of it, you thought as though you could survive without it. You thought as though, oh, okay, I'm doing this. But no, you didn't realize, no, that energy was coming from whoever you were siphoning from. That's what brought you to wherever you were and made you feel so highly of yourself on the inside. But really, it wasn't you, because you were moving within the shadows to acquire that energy. So once it was removed from you, now you're going to be exposed, because you don't have that energy to siphon off of to then utilize within your life in order for you to manifest what you're trying to manifest. So that's why you got to be careful with these Decepticons out here, these deceivers, these energy vampires that move within the shadows, these agents, you know, these agent Smiths trying to go up against the chosen ones and the people who really are trying to make a difference in the world in a positive way. These NPCs who are trying to take you off of your purpose. Stay true to who you are. Don't give your energy out to anybody who's not worthy of your time, space, or energy, who isn't reciprocating energy to you. They're only draining it. If they're only draining it, they're a Decepticon. If they're not giving back to you in the same sense, then they're just using you, and you gotta get them out of your space. But all right, y'all, it's the big homie in the holla.